Welcome to the Gym Plus Coffee podcast. Welcome to episode 3. I'm Ian, producer of the podcast and member of the Gym Plus Coffee community team. On this week's episode, co-founder Diarmuid McSweeney sits down and talks all things health and fitness with Sean Harding. Sean, or better known as Seany B2B, that's how I have him saved in my phone, is owner and founder of Back to Basics. Back to Basics is a gym based in the heart of Tallaght, and this community is a hive of activity. It's a state-of-the-art facility with the best of equipment, charismatic, energetic instructors, a cafe with killer acai bowls and great coffee. But the most important thing that they have is a thriving, energetic community full of young, and not so young, passionate members. As you will hear, community is everything to Seany. His focus is helping his community to reach their goals, not just in the four walls of the gym, but in everyday life too. He organises training days and challenges where his members can push themselves and encourage others to do the same. They recently did 4 marathons in one day: run, row, bike and ski, and he somehow convinced 20 others to do the same, all in the name of charity. We love Seany, and so does our community. He was recently nominated and voted for across so many categories at our Make Life Richer awards that it was only fitting that he won the MVP award. That's Most Valuable Player, for those that don't know. Seany has been a Gym Plus Coffee ambassador pretty much since day one. He has big plans to expand Back to Basics, and he has his ear to the ground on all the latest fitness trends. Hope you guys enjoy.
Sean, you're very welcome to the Gym Plus Coffee podcast. I won't do your introduction for you, but you were part of this community for many a year. You're on the mantelpiece, part of the furniture. I think the first event we did with you was probably, I'd say this time 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
You've been an ambassador for pretty much all of that time. And as you know, we're a big fan. We're a big fan of you. That's why you won MVP at the awards recently. But I know people probably listening might not know your story, might not know the Back to Basics story. So I'd love for you just to introduce yourself and even maybe tell us your journey, you know, into kind of health and fitness before you took the entrepreneurial step. Let's say, you know, what were you doing and what kept you motivated, and then how did you take that step? And then maybe we take it from there, and we'll cover the rest of the ground afterwards. But tell us that initial step first, because I know a lot of people would be interested in that.
Where do I start? I suppose I'm Sean Harding, or I'm becoming known as Seany B2B more and more these days. I own Back to Basics, and we kind of kicked that off about 7, probably touching on 8 years now. In the fitness industry, about 15 years. That's getting crazy to say. I'm just getting old.
You're an old man.
That's what it just reminds me of. But I suppose where I started, I started as I suppose any young lad just trying to become a professional footballer, pretty much. Playing schoolboy the whole way up. I was always in top teams. I was back and forth to England plenty on trials. And through one way or another, that just never came to fruition, in the sense of just injuries happen, just not working out. Ended up going to playing League of Ireland in the end. And you're at that crossroads, I think, at 17, 18, where the parents put pressure on you to figure out what you want to do in life for the rest of your life. And the way I was kind of made feel, I would say, was I need to have the answer of what I want to do for the rest of my life. And for me at that time, it was I want to play football. And it's as simple as that. And everything else was on the back burner, pretty much. But through the jigs and the reels, obviously, the education system that we live in, you got to try and do a plan B. And the Irish football scene is obviously not lucrative. And I suppose you couldn't make a living, but not as a 17-year-old. So coming out of school, I got a scholarship for UCD. Funnily enough, I got the scholarship for sports management, a degree in sports management. And I remember I left the first day I turned up. I had to leave my house at 6 a.m. in the morning to get out there on time with the traffic and all the rest. It was early anyway. I'm not too sure if it was that time, but it was early. I just remember it was early. Got out there, had a full day of lectures. I remember in the lectures, they were talking to me about assignments due in 2 weeks' time. This is my first day in college. And so I just remember being assignments have to be due by this date. And then after a long day in college, I think it was probably finished at 4 or 5, I had to wait around for training that evening with UCD. So I was playing with UCD at the time. So we had to train that evening. By the time I got home, it was probably about, I think it was pre-season. So by the time I got home, it was probably near 10 o'clock. And I was just like, I'm not going back to that. That's too hard. That's too much of a long day. And lo and behold, I suppose here I am, come full circle, start my days at 4:30, 5, and finish at 10 o'clock, and I do it for a living. So funny to look back as full circle. I suppose in between that, filling in the gaps, playing ball, always interested in football, but there always had to be a plan B. Dropped out of UCD, went to DCU to play or to do computer science. Again, didn't know what I wanted to do. Spent the year probably just hiding in the computer room, not really going to lectures, didn't like it at all, and dropped out of that after the first year, all the time playing football. From there, it was, what do you want to do? Parents putting pressure on you. Okay, my dad, my family are in construction, and it's kind of like, okay, we'll put you into an apprenticeship. What do you want to do? Plumber, carpentry, all the rest. And I was like, I don't want to do any of that. And I was working with a PT at the time. Funny enough, I was always into the gym, always just into, obviously with football, I wanted to do was everything I could to play. So I was working with PT, and he said to me, I'm running a fitness course at the minute, or I'm a coach on a fitness course. Do you want to do this PT course? We have interviews coming up. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And it was actually just a FOSS sport day course for a year, and I'd done it, and it was one of the best years of my life. It was unbelievable. I got to train all day, every day, and we got a little bit of a wage for it. When I was 18, I was loving it. From there, it was just, I got straight into the gym, and I never really took the gym seriously. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed training, enjoyed helping people, and it was just football for me, all football. I still wanted to go to England, still thought I was good enough. And eventually it came to, I got a contract to go over and play in Australia. And I was born in Australia, so I was like, okay, let's do it. That was always in the back of my mind also. I was about 22, so I went over on my own, left everything, and I feel like I was shy before then, but it was something that happened in the next few years that just brought me out of my shell, and the confidence grew. And yeah, I suppose moved to Australia, played ball there, played ball in New Zealand then, and then I got to New Zealand. And I was a couple of years into Australia then, and I was about 25, 26. Through that time, I had gone to Australia, and I had been playing ball, but I've also was still coaching and still building up. And in the gym I went to be fair, I feel like this is where a lot of my confidence came from, was because they just built me up so much, and I built up a really, really good rep. I took a boot camp that they only done seasonally in the summer, and I ran a whole all the way through winter. And I took it from probably 10 people up to 40 people, packed out all the rest. And when it
Where
came,
was that?
it was in Ballarat. It was just outside, just outside Melbourne, and it was cool. I was like the token Irish guy, you know what I mean? But that's probably why I stayed so long in a country in Australia. But that came really well. That came, I suppose, built my confidence without actually realizing it. I remember I went to try and leave to try and get more money. While still playing football, and this is all just stuff of, I just want to make a bit more money to do a little bit more with my life. So I went and I interviewed for another gym, got the manager's role in the gym, which I thought was crazy at the time. And I came back and I was like, look, I'm leaving. And they were like, what? They were shocked, and they were like, no, you're not leaving. There's not a chance. So they came back, gave me literally what I wanted, created a whole new role for me, and was like, you can pick and choose your hours when you want to work, all the rest. Right. And I was just like, okay, fine, fair enough. And I remember there was this old lady, and she was a coach, and I say she was in her 60s and still coaching. And she was an unbelievable lady, but I remember she just said something to me at the counter desk within the gym at one point, and for the life of me, I can't remember her name, but she literally just said, pulled me aside one day and she was like, "You've got something." And I was just like, never really thought anything of it. I was just like, "Oh, thanks very much." I was like, "All right, thanks." But that always, I think from then it kind of triggered me to be like, okay. And the confidence that to go from there, I was just like, okay, I'm obviously good at this. And then I think that always sticks with me. Went to New Zealand then, ended up leaving, went to New Zealand, played ball. It didn't work out the way we wanted. I got let go after 3 months into my contract, after packing up everything and shifting my life from Australia to New Zealand. And I suppose I was left with what do I do with life now? I don't have football. I don't have a club. I don't have a gym. And I just made a decision there and then. I was like, all right, well, let's try and play football back in Ireland again. I seen all the lads I grew up with play ball, and they were with all the top teams in League of Ireland. I was just like, I can play there, no problem. And
Was that a big decision? Because, like, you know, would it have been easier to stay in Australia or New Zealand at that point?
I'm not sure. I feel like nothing's a big decision for me. And I don't know.
Let's dig into that.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't get too high, too low. I don't know, but I just remember at the time. I remember being like, looking back at it, and I haven't really looked back at it, I suppose. But I remember just going, hold on a sec. I've given up my whole life to chase football, and to be dropped like that in a split instance, to make through a phone call, to be like, okay, we've let you go. And then it was kind of like, okay, what do you do? And I remember exactly where I was, on the side of a street, and I took about 10, 30 seconds max, and I was just like, all right, on to the next, I'll show them. And that was it. And I was just like, okay. And I had a flight booked back for Christmas to my brother, so I just jumped in my brother, and then I was just like, I'm not going back to the gym and what I was all doing for the last few years. That's a chapter done. I've done that already. Let's try a new chapter. Moved on, and yeah, flew home after scraping money together. I was on the Aussie social welfare, and being a citizen came in handy, to be fair. So, so I scraped enough money home to get home, and then I went and I moved down to Limerick. Funny enough. Moved down to Limerick, got a contract with Limerick FC, playing full time. Again, nothing to write home though in relation to pay around like this, but I was just like, oh, it'd be cool to. I always wanted to play full time. Yeah. That was my thing. I was like, if only I can play full time. And they ended up playing full time. And then looking back on that, I was just like, on the days that we would go train, we'd do training, we'd do a gym session and come home, finish at 1 or 2 o'clock. And throughout the rest of the day, I was just like, bored. I was just like, I need to be doing something. I was just like, I'm wasting my life here. I was like, I'm not making enough money to live. I'm fine, but I can't get all the things that I want in life. And so, yeah, there was always something in the back of my mind on that side of things. And so I ended up moving back to Dublin, and I went back to college in UCD. Just at this stage, trying to figure it all out. What do you want to do? And so I went back and I done health and performance science in UCD, and I was playing League of Ireland on the side with Bray Wanderers at the time then. And I was just, when I was up and down from Limerick to the parents, I was just like, my mum's back garden had two little sheds, and I was just like, getting the idea. I was like, I'm not going to work for anybody in the gym industry here. Like, there's not a chance. And I feel like the confidence came from Australia. I've done that. I was like, I can do my own thing now. And I felt like just Australia was a little bit ahead in the fitness side of things. So I was like, because my dad is in construction, I kept going, Dad's, build me a gym, will you? I was like, build me a gym. I was like, well, will you build me a gym? I'll make a killing. And I was just like, I just remember, and I kept saying it. I was like, I'll make a killing. I'll have a pact. And a couple of months later, he was like, right, we're going to do it. And so they built a gym at the back, and start from there, and then that's it. And now I'm here.
That's amazing. That's some story. So tell us, like, obviously you built it up from the ground, you know, month by month, I'm sure, looking at the numbers, getting people in. But what is it about back to basics? Like, what's your ethos, you know, and how has that become the ethos of the community you've built? But then tell people about I suppose how it's a little different, if you know what I mean. I won't kind of steal your thunder, but like what is it? Because there is something, you see it even through social media. You know, there's a different atmosphere and kind of camaraderie about the place, and I think it comes from the ethos out that you guys focus on a lot more than just people showing up to the gym, I would say.
It's a tough one, to be honest with you. I started off and I just, from the confidence building in Australia, I still, when I started, I was just like, I'm going to train people and I'm going to get them better. And I suppose for me, I feel like I see potential in people, and I feel like that wears off, or that's infectious when you surround yourself with people who, I suppose, getting dropped from clubs where people don't believe in you. For me, then turning around to being like, no, I actually believe in everybody in relation to that comes in. I can actually get you better. I can make you better in the sense of I can literally upgrade your body and your life if you just live a little bit healthier. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
So I feel like something in that, I wasn't aware of it at the time. I was young. I was just like, come in and train. I'll get you in better shape, and that's it. And just starts to snowball from there. As you dig into it, now I'm kind of, I suppose, coming from a PT, coach, fitness instructor to a more entrepreneur. That mindset has just kind of grown and grown and grown. And I would consider myself a business owner, entrepreneur at this stage, with kind of my hands in 3 different businesses now. So for me, it's, I bring it back to, it's become more and more aware of what actually do you do, because obviously the bigger you go, you got to be like selling yourself, in the sense of you got to sell your business. What do you do? What makes you different? And with the goal of back to basics, wanting to get 100 facilities and be world renowned all over the world, I've got to start to learn and link what makes us different. What makes us different? I'm still trying to figure it out. For me, I literally want to take fitness and do it better than it's ever been done. I want to, while doing that, I want to treat people better than they thought they could be treated. So over the last few years, it's kind of came into that little soundbite of, I want to take fitness, do it better than it's ever been done, whilst treating people better than they thought they could be treated. And that's what it came back to. Elaborating on that, there's a woman coming over from Australia. She's in Dublin now. She was in the gym this morning, but she's doing a bike row and air workshop with us. And it's just, I started following her a few years ago, and I was just like, I love how she coaches. I like what she does. And she came in this morning, and she got involved in the classes and all the rest. I was chatting to her after, and she was just like, you've got a really good vibe here. It's just authentic. It's real. And she was just like, I know a lot of people talk about the basics of movement and all the rest, but it's very evident that you do that, and that's how it's authentic, as opposed to a lot of people try and copy things and all the rest. Whereas I suppose for me, the basics are the basics, and it started with exercises for me in relation to when I was thinking about back to basics. Just do the basics well, and you'll get stronger, you'll get fitter, and you'll move better. Because I'm coming from an athletic background.
Yeah.
That has since evolved to being like, do the basics in life and you'll be successful.
Yeah. And the element of kind of encouraging or promoting people to do things outside of the gym, you know, you include in some of your, you know, some of the roadmaps you plan out, or some of the competitions you have for like different groups within the gym. You know, okay guys, go and do a sea swim this weekend, or do a hike. Has that always been there, or is that something that's evolved over the last few years because trends have kind of gone that way, and we kind of all realize that we should be doing more than just hitting the gym, if you know what I mean, without being kind of...
Yeah, I suppose initially we always, as I went from PT to small group to groups, and you see that infectious group environment where they bounce off each other, and actually you're not actually doing anything, you're just being the orchestrator in relation to putting people in places in an environment that they just bounce off each other, and you're actually standing back on, I actually didn't do anything here. I just kind of, they're doing it all themselves, and that in itself is quite infectious. Where all the outside stuff came to me was when COVID hit, and we were all shut down, the brick and mortar gym, and all you seen on social media at the time, I remember, was people giving out about the gyms being closed. And my business was shut down, brick and mortar gym. I wasn't angry at that. I was angry at the people giving out that they were shut down, or giving out people screaming mental health, going, "Oh, I won't survive without my four walls in my gym." And I'm kind of going, you're missing the point completely here. I was like, health and fitness is way more than the four walls of a brick and mortar gym. And that for me then, it probably sparked, I was less like, we need to educate people more on, it's not just about brick and mortar gym. Yes, we can get you fit, healthy, strong. We can do all these things, but you're only in here a couple of hours a week. You need to be able to live that lifestyle outside of the gym also. So from there kind of span, and I was just like, okay, I need to go start going down that route.
Yeah.
It's time for a quick break. I hope you're enjoying the episode. Just to let you know that we have a special discount code for podcast listeners. If you go to our website and enter POD15, you'll get 15% off. That's POD15 for 15% off on all Gym Plus Coffee websites. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, and turn on that notification button so you never miss an episode. Now let's get back to the chat.
You slipped something into conversation there, which was 100 B2B locations.
Yes.
What is the future looking like? What's the plan, and what are you aiming for with the kind of business side of it?
My business side of things is, it's funny because I was just going with the flow and initially, and then you kind of get more serious and more serious about it. And my vision is, 100 facilities. And the reason being is because, again, I feel like we can do fitness better than it's ever been done. I'm looking at the F45s, I'm looking at the BFTs, I'm looking at all the boutique facilities around the world, which I've traveled to in my time to get ideas and all the rest. But I still think we can do it better. I still think they're missing the point. I feel like as much good as they're doing, because they're getting people fit and active, I feel like it can be done better. Mm-hmm. And it's as simple as that. So I set a plan of 100 facilities, and I feel like it's probably when I joined the mastermind group, it kind of gave me direction. When COVID happened, I was like, okay, I've got to actually take this business stuff seriously now. So then you start looking at, okay, what's the long-term plan, all the rest. And I just remember going, you need to have a 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 10-year plan. And I started at that. And then ever since, it's probably 9 years now. I've got 9 years left. I've still only got one. So I've got to get my move on. But yeah, I just feel like, why not set a big, hairy, audacious goal and go for it.
Nice. I've got 2 last questions. First one is, you kind of at the coal face, let's say, plugged into grassroots fitness for the last 8 years, like 9 years, like as an actual operator, let's say. Mm-hmm. Obviously longer than that for you personally, but what are the trends for me, and from talking to the people, like Ireland's changing fast. Like, mm-hmm. What are you kind of seeing in I won't lead you too much, but like, what is happening? What's the positive thing that's kind of, it feels like the ball started rolling and now it's rolling really quickly. The amount of people kind of coming into fitness, just seems to be really quickly a lot of change happening.
Yes, I feel like maybe COVID was a probably blessing in disguise in one sense, is because it gave people an awareness of how important health and fitness is to people. That was probably the ball rolling. Social media and the digital age we live in, I suppose, is kickstarted and snowballed that at a huge rate. Mm-hmm. So when I first moved to Australia, we were like 5-10 years behind, and that's probably been sped up quite a bit through social media. So where do I see it? I see it, with a lot more B2Bs, first and foremost. But no, where do I see it? I see it going with people taking training a lot more seriously. I feel like people are starting to steer, or probably they want more than just a circuit. They want more than a circuit. They want to be educated on how to train, what do I need to do, and how do I do these movements correctly. On top of that, you've got your nutrition side of things. They want to learn about nutrition, what foods I should be eating, what foods should I stay away from, or just that healthy path. And then there's even more pillars around your sleep, your hydration, your mental health. And there's them kind of pillars, and they all tie into each other. But I feel like people want to know more and learn more about what they're doing. And I feel like that's the way it's going to go. In relation to physical brick and mortar gyms, I feel like commercial gyms will always be there, but I feel like the more and more people I'm coming across, it is people want accountability. They want a high level of accountability, and they want a good service, and they want to be seen. And so I feel like really good class-based environments do that really well, and any ones that do that will excel. On top of that, the facility has to be really clean, has to be really slick. We came from, and my old box was just a factory warehouse. But for me, I feel like it's so hard for people to even pick up the phone or even send a message to a gym and ask about membership prices. That is so hard in itself for people, because their confidence is so low that because they're constantly comparing themselves to others, it's so hard for them to even start. We have to make it as comfortable for them when they come in. And that has to start with the look and feel of a place, the look and feel of a facility, as opposed to coming into an old factory warehouse. They'll still be around, of course, but I just think in order to make massive change, we got to try and make people feel uncomfortable. But first, we got to make them feel comfortable coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still that obstacle and barrier there for people, isn't there? Like
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always probably will be in a way, but as you say, just make it as accessible as possible.
It's hard enough getting out of bed in the morning. I don't want to get up and go to a cold factory and try and train, you know. So I feel like there's something to that as well.
Definitely. Last question is, we've built Gym Plus Coffee on this idea, you know, to make life richer. We call the awards the Make Life Richer Awards. So, you know, that's the passion that kind of keeps burning for us, to build a community around that idea. Answer this in any way you want, but when you hear that phrase or when you think about that idea, like what does Make Life Richer mean to you, or mean to Back to Basics? Like what do you hear when you hear those words?
Make Life Richer is, for me, it's just trying to do a little bit more each and every day. I feel like when I was there and you talked about it at the start, I was just like, and I think you touched on it yourself at one point, and I was just like, that's so good. Like, it's so good, and I feel like people need it so much, in the sense that they just need to envisage and just try and do a little bit better. Life is tough, and it's gonna constantly be tough, and I suppose you gotta just try and do a little bit more each and every day. And I feel like if people can look for that little bit of progress and that little win each and every day and start to build up momentum, I feel like that's making life richer. I feel like that is it. I feel like it obviously involves health and fitness, it involves a community, and it involves surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And that's it. Doing the basics well.
Love it. Thanks a million for joining us. Congrats on the award.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
so
thanks
much
for sharing the story as well. It was cool to hear it all the way back to Australia and all that. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
You've been listening to the Gym Plus Coffee podcast. If you enjoy these conversations, don't forget to follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, and turn on that notification button so you never miss an episode. Don't forget, we have a special discount code for podcast listeners. Go to our website and enter POD15 for 15% off. That's POD15 for 15% off on all Gym Plus Coffee websites. Thanks for listening.